My name's Jordan. I'm 29 years old. And if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I would have told you I had it all figured out. A stable job, a decent apartment, friends I could count on, and a girlfriend I thought I'd grow old with. Her name was Natalie, and for a while, she was my entire world. We met the way most people do now, on a dating app. I wasn't even taking it seriously. I'd just gotten out of a relationship a few months prior. Wasn't really looking for anything, just swiping during a lazy Sunday Netflix binge. I think I was watching Narcos or something like that. But then I came across her profile. She had this natural beauty, no filters, no overdone makeup. Just this effortless smile and messy hair in a hoodie, holding a cup of coffee like she was about to tell you a secret. Something about that photo made me stop scrolling. We matched. Our first conversation wasn't some grand romantic moment. We actually started talking about our favorite comfort foods. She was into sushi and bubble tea. I told her I had a weakness for chicken wings and really bad Chinese takeout. We laughed, flirted, and before I knew it, we were texting nonstop. Our first date was at this little art cafe downtown. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't even that quiet. But I remember every second of it. She wore this oversized beige sweater and jeans. Her hair was tied back, but she left a few strands loose in front. She smelled like vanilla and fresh air. And when she talked, she didn't just speak. She painted pictures. That night, we stayed out until the staff had to kick us out. We walked for hours, just talking about everything. Our childhoods, favorite movies, the weirdest dreams we'd had. I found out she was a graphic designer, freelancing from home. She loved romantic comedies but secretly binged horror shows. Said she hated sports but for some reason loved watching Formula One. She made me laugh in a way no one had in years. And that was it. From that night on, I was hooked. We spent the next few months in that honeymoon phase everyone talks about. You know, the one where everything feels electric. Like you've found this rare gem in a world full of fake stones. We'd cook together, usually terrible food that we ended up ordering over with Uber Eats an hour later. We'd stay up watching Stranger Things or Black Mirror till 3 a.m., then fall asleep with the laptop still playing. She left little notes for me in my backpack. I'd wake up to her sending me memes about cats or sarcastic tweets that made me laugh at work. She was thoughtful, affectionate, intimate, loving. We had this rhythm, a dance. I'd make her tea in the morning. She'd pack me snacks for work. We talked about future vacations, maybe even moving in together. And when we were together, physically, it felt real, deep, passionate. But I guess the thing about passion is, it burns hot, and sometimes it burns out. I just didn't realize how quickly it could happen. It didn't happen overnight. First, it was little things. She stopped initiating conversations. I'd have to text first, call first, plan dates. No big deal, I told myself. Maybe she's just tired. She's a freelancer. She works odd hours. It happens. Then she started canceling plans last minute, saying she had a headache or her stomach hurt. Again, I didn't press. I believed her. I trusted her. But then came the phrase, "Not today." The first time she said it, we'd been cuddling on the couch, halfway through season 3 of You. I leaned over to kiss her neck, tried to get a little closer. She smiled, gently moved my hand and said, "Not today, babe. I'm just not in the mood." Totally fine. We all have off days. But then not today became something else. It became tomorrow. Then next weekend. Then, I'm just not feeling connected lately. She started pulling away, physically, emotionally, and in every small way that makes a relationship feel safe. She used to hug me from behind when I was brushing my teeth. She stopped. She used to randomly grab my hand while walking. Stopped. She used to text me good night, even if she was out with friends. Stopped. But her phone? She was on it constantly, laughing at stuff I didn't send her. Typing with that smirk that told me the joke wasn't from me. Locking her screen when I walked into the room. Turning over her phone during dinner. And when I asked her about it, she gave me the line every guy dreads hearing. "You're being paranoid." That's the thing about suspicion. It doesn't come from nowhere. It builds up like static, little shocks that turn into lightning. I started noticing changes in our sex life. Or, well, the lack of it. It went from a few times a week to once every couple weeks to once a month. And even then it felt empty, like she was going through the motions.
No pasión. No spark.
Just a cold body next to mine, sighing at the ceiling. And then the Netflix nights stopped too. She started watching shows without me. I'd come over and she'd be halfway through a new season of something we had started together. I asked her once, "You watched it without me?" And she just shrugged and said, "I got bored waiting." Bored. Like I was a chore. That's when I really started to feel it. She wasn't saying it out loud, but she was checking out. Quiet quitting the relationship while still enjoying the perks. My support, my money, my presence. I even helped her pay her rent a few times when a client didn't pay on time. I covered her groceries when she said she was just waiting on an invoice. And every time I told myself it was love. That's what love does, right? You support each other. But love doesn't look like someone always saying, "Not today." It doesn't look like your girlfriend flinching when you reach for her hand. It doesn't look like being the last priority in someone's life, right after Wi-Fi, food delivery apps, and Instagram stories. One night, I came over with her favorite ramen from that place across town. It was pouring rain, and I knew she'd had a rough week. She opened the door in a hoodie and sweatpants, barely smiled, took the bag, mumbled thanks, and went back to the couch.
No hug. No kiss.
"No, I missed you." And when I sat next to her and tried to cuddle, she sighed and said, "Jordan, can I just have some space tonight? I'm not in the mood." There it was again. Not today. I looked at her, and for the first time I didn't feel rejected. I felt numb, because I realized I wasn't her boyfriend anymore. I was her backup plan. Her roommate who brought food.
Her emotional punching bag.
And something inside me cracked. At night, after she asked for space again, I didn't argue. I just stood up, said okay, and quietly left. I didn't even slam the door. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me upset. I drove around for hours, no destination. Just me, some low-volume music, and my thoughts racing like crazy. I replayed every little moment over the past few months. Every time she said, "Not today." Every time I looked over and saw her more interested in her phone than me. Every cold hug. Every fake smile. I stopped at a gas station around 1 a.m., sat in the lot with an energy drink and a pack of sour gummy worms, and just stared into the night. That was the moment I started accepting it. She wasn't into me anymore. She probably hadn't been for a while. The next day, I didn't text her. I waited to see if she'd reach out. Nothing. Then the next day, still nothing. 3 days went by, and the only message I got from her was a Venmo request for $17.89 for groceries. That was my breaking point. Not because of the money, but because of what it meant. I was still useful, still convenient, still her safety net, but not her partner, not her priority. So I started pulling away. Quietly, I stopped initiating. I stopped showing up. I stopped offering help. And the silence between us grew louder than any fight we ever had. A week later, she messaged me, "Hey, everything okay? Haven't heard from you." I replied, "I've just been giving you space, like you asked." She didn't respond. A few days after that, I ran into her friend Lisa at a grocery store. We chatted briefly, and she casually mentioned something that made my stomach drop. "Oh, Nat told me she was seeing someone new. It's pretty casual, but he seems fun." My mouth went dry. "Wait," I said, trying to sound normal. "They're dating." Lisa blinked. "I thought you guys broke up." "We didn't. Or at least not officially." That's when I knew for sure. Natalie hadn't just been checked out. She'd already moved on. She was lining up her next relationship while I was still trying to save the current one. And I bet every time she said, "Not today," it wasn't because she was tired or busy or stressed. It was because someone else had her attention, her energy, her interest, someone who wasn't me. The realization hit like a freight train. And as much as it hurt, it also gave me clarity. I deserved better. I wasn't going to beg for attention. I wasn't going to fight for a spot in someone's life when they'd already replaced me. So I did something I should have done months ago. I blocked her on everything. Phone, Instagram, Venmo, Spotify, you name it. Gone. And for the first time in months, I slept through the night.
No tossing, no turning.
Just pure, uninterrupted sleep. It was like my body had been waiting for me to finally let go. Of course, the story doesn't end there. Because the thing about people like Natalie is, they don't like losing access. They don't want you, but they also don't want to not have you. 2 weeks after I blocked her, she showed up at my apartment. She stood at my door with this look. Like she was surprised I didn't run to hug her. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stood in the doorway. I didn't let her in. She looked around awkwardly. I feel like things got weird. And I miss you. I miss us. I raised an eyebrow. "You miss the version of me that still sent you food and money?" That stung. I could see it in her eyes. "No," she said quickly. "I mean, I miss the real connection we had. I've just been going through a lot." And I cut her off. "You dating someone now?" She hesitated. That was enough of an answer. "I was," she said finally. "But it didn't work out. He wasn't what I thought." I nodded slowly. There it was. She traded loyalty for excitement, comfort for mystery, and when the mystery wore off, she came back to the man who once gave her stability. But that man was gone. "He wasn't what you thought," I repeated. "And I was exactly what you thought. Predictable, safe, boring, right?" "No," she said, stepping closer. "You were good to me, and I didn't realize how rare that is until someone treated you worse." Silence. She blinked a few times, then whispered, "Can we start over?" I smiled, not out of joy, but out of disbelief. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw it clearly for the first time. This wasn't love. This was comfort, guilt, maybe even regret. But it wasn't love. And I wasn't about to be someone's consolation prize. So I said the words I never thought I'd say to her.
No, Natalie.
"We can't." She started tearing up. "Jordan, I messed up. I know I did. Can't we try?" I shook my head. "You spent months telling me not today. Every time I tried to connect. Now you want to reconnect because someone else told you the same thing." She said nothing. I took a deep breath and closed the door. Not angrily, not bitterly, just peacefully, because I had finally chosen myself. The days after that felt weirdly light. Not easy, not painless, but lighter. Like I'd finally taken off a backpack filled with rocks I didn't even know I'd been carrying. I focused on work, spent more time with my friends, even reconnected with my older brother, who I hadn't properly talked to in months because Natalie always got in a mood when I went out without her. I started rediscovering myself. Friday nights stopped being sad leftovers and loneliness. I started going to trivia nights at a local bar with coworkers. I binged shows I actually wanted to watch instead of whatever romantic K-drama she insisted we watch together, but not without her. I finally finished Breaking Bad. I know, years late, but damn, worth it. One night, around 1 a.m., I found myself making a grilled cheese in the kitchen, music playing, just smiling. No reason, just at peace. That's when I realized I hadn't thought about her all day. No checking her socials. No wondering if she'd text. Nothing. And that, to me, was real closure. But the universe has a weird sense of humor. Because not even a week later, I got a message request on Instagram from a profile I didn't recognize at first. The username was something like @sunkissed.smiles. Sounded like a spam bot. But it was Natalie. New profile. New aesthetic. Same drama. She messaged me, "I know I shouldn't, but I miss you so much. Can we please talk?" I didn't respond. The next day, she messaged again. "I hate how things ended. You were the best thing in my life. Please don't shut me out forever." And again 2 days later, "Do you remember our trip to the cabin? That night by the fireplace? I can't stop thinking about it." Of course I remembered. It was our best weekend.
No phones. No distractions.
Just us, wine, snow, and bad board games. But memory isn't a reason to reopen a wound. She was starting to spiral. A few weeks passed. Her messages got longer, more emotional. And then she started doing the classic playbook move, posting subtle thirst traps and life quotes about missing opportunities and self-growth on her story. And always watching mine. Within seconds, it was painfully obvious she wanted my attention. What she didn't know was that during that time, I started talking to someone else. Someone I met at a mutual friend's game night. Her name was Maya. She wasn't flashy or trying to impress me. She didn't play games. She laughed easily, talked openly, and, more than anything, made me feel seen. We started texting after the game night. It wasn't even flirtatious at first. Just genuine conversation. But it built naturally. She asked questions. Actually listened to the answers. She shared parts of her life without trying to make them sound like a highlight reel. Our first date was nothing fancy, just burgers and shakes at this retro diner. But I laughed more in 2 hours than I had in 6 months with Natalie. And when I walked her to her car and she gave me a hug, it felt honest. Not forced. Not like checking off a box. Just real. That night, I didn't even think about Natalie. Not once. That's when I knew, truly knew, that I had healed. But Natalie? She hadn't. A couple weeks later, I ran into one of her friends, Jess, at a bookstore. She looked tired and stressed. We chatted briefly, and then Jess, in her usual blunt way, just blurted out, "She's a mess, you know."
Naturvidenskabelig.
Since you shut her out. I stayed silent. She thought the new guy would be fun, exciting, but he ghosted her after a month. Treated her like an option. Partied too much. Didn't respect her. I nodded slowly. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. Jess looked at me carefully. "She says she misses how safe you made her feel. How calm things were." I didn't respond, because I already knew what was happening. Natalie wasn't sorry because she hurt me. She was sorry because someone else hurt her worse. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself she was when she was with me. Safe, taken care of, loved. But the thing about love is, once it's broken, even if you rebuild it, the cracks never fully disappear. And I had no interest in gluing things back together just so she could feel whole again. Later that night, Maya and I were watching The Bear on Hulu. She got me hooked, and I told her about running into Jess. She looked at me and said something that stuck with me. "You know, just because someone regrets losing you doesn't mean they deserve another chance." And she was right. Natalie's regret wasn't my responsibility. Her pain wasn't my burden. I'd given her my love, my time, my money, my support. And when it was convenient, she said, "Not today." Now she wanted to say, "Maybe today?" Only because her plan B collapsed. But I wasn't a backup. Not anymore. It's kind of surreal looking back now. How someone can be the center of your universe one day, and then, slowly, become a stranger with memories attached. Maya and I kept getting closer. Nothing rushed, nothing dramatic. Just slow, steady growth. One evening, we were cooking together, her playlist humming in the background, something mellow and indie, and I caught myself smiling like an idiot while watching her dance in my hoodie, flipping vegetables in the pan like it was some Olympic sport. That's when it hit me. This was what I'd been missing. Not just affection, but effort, presence. A relationship that felt like a two-way street. With Natalie, I used to feel like I was dragging the relationship uphill while she sat on her phone, texting someone else at the top. With Maya, it felt like we were walking side by side. Same pace, same rhythm. Around that same time, I started getting texts from unknown numbers. One said, "You moved on fast. Guess I didn't matter." Another, "Don't act like you're happy. I know you're not." Both from burner numbers. No name, no photo. But I knew who it was. I didn't respond, because I didn't owe her closure. I gave her a dozen opportunities for that when we were still together, and she used everyone to say, "Not today." Now, when she finally wanted to talk, it was my turn. Not today. Maya and I started doing the little things. Coffee runs on lazy Sundays. Grocery trips where we'd buy snacks we'd probably regret. She introduced me to her cat, Frankie, a temperamental little guy who hated everyone except her and, surprisingly, me. We'd watch shows and actually finish them. No fake promises of "we'll binge it together later," while secretly watching ahead. We started watching Succession, then switched to Beef, then The Last of Us. All stuff I used to suggest to Natalie, who'd roll her eyes and say, "Too depressing. Let's rewatch Emily in Paris again." Maya? She'd say, "This show is messed up. I love it." One night, we were curled up watching Black Mirror, and a random thought hit me. I couldn't remember the last time I thought about Natalie without feeling either angry or sad. Now I just felt nothing. That's when you really know it's over. Not when you stop crying. Not when you stop checking your phone. But when the ghost of them finally stops echoing in your head. I had peace. Natalie, on the other hand, didn't stop. She sent a long email. 3 full pages of "I messed up," and "you were right," and "I didn't know what I had until it was gone." She talked about how the guy she left me for ghosted her after a few wild weekends, and how she realized too late that fun doesn't equal love. How no one made her feel safe the way I did. How she sees me with Maya now, and it kills her to imagine me giving someone else what used to be hers. She ended it with, "If there's any part of you that still loves me, please just say something." I didn't reply, not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much to let her keep pulling me backward. I forwarded the email to a folder I labeled "Closure" and archived it. Later that week, Maya and I went on a little weekend trip, just a simple Airbnb by a lake, with books, snacks, and no real plans. On our second night there, we built a fire, sat outside, and she asked me about my past. Really asked, not just surface stuff. And for the first time, I told her the full story. Not to dwell on Natalie, but to show her how far I'd come, how far I'd grown. And Maya, in her calm way, just listened.
No judgment. No pity.
Just quiet understanding. Then she said something I'll never forget. She taught you what not to accept. That's still a gift, even if it hurt. And she was right. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most don't leave behind scars. They leave lessons. And sometimes the best revenge isn't anger. It's peace. It's moving on, living better, and never looking back. Natalie made her choices, and so did I. She kept saying, "Not today." Now, she doesn't get to be part of my tomorrow. A few months passed. The seasons changed. So did I. There was this day, I remember it clearly, early autumn. The air had that crisp smell, leaves just starting to fall. Maya and I were walking through the park with Frankie in one of those ridiculous little cat backpacks. She looked up at me and said, "You seem different lately, lighter." And I was. It's funny how much weight you carry around without even noticing. The resentment, the constant second-guessing, the feeling like you're never quite enough for someone who claims to love you but always finds a reason not to show it. Natalie always made me feel like I had to earn her love. Like it was a reward I could unlock only if I passed every test. Be charming, be supportive, be patient, and never ask for too much in return. With Maya, love didn't feel like a game or a task. It just was. Easy, quiet, solid. And that was the biggest shift of all. One night, months after the last message from Natalie, I got tagged in a photo on Facebook. It was a mutual friend's birthday party. The photo wasn't anything special. Just a group shot at a rooftop bar. But there she was in the corner. Natalie. She looked good. Different. Blonde now. New outfit, new friends. But her eyes? Still searching for something. I didn't feel sad. Or nostalgic. I felt grateful. Grateful that I didn't answer those messages. Grateful that I didn't go back out of guilt or habit. Grateful that I finally saw my own worth instead of begging someone else to see it for me. And I know, maybe this sounds dramatic. It's easy to romanticize healing. But here's the thing. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a messy, awkward climb out of a hole you didn't even realize you were in. Some nights, I still hear echoes of the old arguments. The quiet tension. The way she'd say, "Not today." Like love was a burden she just didn't feel like carrying. But now, those echoes don't hurt. They just remind me how far I've come. These days, life is good. Not perfect, not like a movie, but real. Maya and I adopted another cat. Beans. A chaotic little orange gremlin who somehow gets along with Frankie. We started planning a trip to Italy next year. Something slow and scenic. Pasta, wine, old streets, late mornings. We have movie nights that don't turn into fights about what to watch. We cook together. We laugh over dumb TikToks. We leave each other notes on the fridge. No drama.
No guilt trips.
Just love. And sometimes, when I'm washing dishes or folding laundry, I catch myself thinking, this is it. This is what I waited for. What I deserved all along. Natalie made her choice. She chose to hold back. To keep score. to wait for passion while pushing away connection. She said, not today, so many times that when she finally said, maybe today, I was already gone. And now, she watches from afar, realizing too late that consistency beats chaos. That real love isn't loud and shiny. It's soft and steady. She wanted fun. She got it. She wanted freedom. She used it. But freedom doesn't feel so sweet when you realize the person who held you steady is no longer standing there, arms open. She thought I'd always be available. She thought I'd wait. But I didn't. And now she no longer has my help, my time, or my money. More importantly, she no longer has me.